What's the craziest thing you've ever seen at work? Someone took a shit in the final hole of putt-putt. I was a manager at a small casino running a blackjack tournament. I watched a man have a heart attack before my very eyes. It was the end of the round for that table. The man advanced to the next round. As soon as the hand was over and was about to congratulate him, I saw the exact moment that he realized that something was wrong. He grabbed his chest and his lips instantly turned gray. It just so happened that the person sitting directly to his right was respiratory nurse. She realizes immediately what's happening and throws him on the ground and starts CPR. She took full control of the situation like a hero in the movies. It was horrific and awe-inspiring at the same time. The man made a special visit to the casino 2 weeks later to let us know that he was okay. To me, this wasn't crazy because I watched a man almost die. This was crazy because I saw the exact moment that he realized that he was in trouble. I saw the exact moment the nurse's instincts and training kicked in. I'll never forget it. We were unloading some equipment from trucks. I was off to the side putting things away when I heard someone making really weird noises followed by loud bangs. I went over to the loading area to find a co-worker pretending to be a monkey in the truck and throwing barrels down the ramp at another co-worker who was jumping over them. Funniest thing I've seen in years. I'm a bartender and work a fair amount of weddings. The wedding party was fucked up before the ceremony and it only got worse during cocktail hour in the reception. Sometime after dinner we heard voices raise, shouting and cussing commenced. 2 bridesmaids were having a spat right in front of all the guests, including the bride and groom. Unfortunately they were bickering in front of the wedding cake, so when reason flew out the window and good sense was doing shots they began pushing each other, which escalated to hair pulling and blows. Obviously people began trying to break it up. Unfortunately in the middle of the scuffle one of the bridesmaids was pushed forcefully into the cake table. She fell over this 5-story perfectly decorated cake, demolished it. Never seen something so terrible and yet hilarious at an event. The power went out while I was working at Walmart about 15 years ago. A lady went and opened a flashlight and batteries, then continued to shine it on a package of bacon to check the expiration date. Kind of happened over the span of some weeks or so. One of the managers at my work, not my department, started dating this lady. Lady turned out to be not so good for him because she had a coke addiction if I recall correctly, and she was using him for money. Long story short, she bled him dry and left him right after. He ended up homeless. He then bought a van off a buddy for cheap and started living behind our building. He had an outlet running under the loading door and everything. That lasted for a couple weeks. But then upper management found out and the guy got canned. I miss that dude. Hope you're doing well, Tom. One of our machines broke on my shift. Roughly 10 kLbs of metal went crashing 10 feet down, landing about 6 feet away from the nearest employee. I was shift lead at the time and was counting heads, making sure nobody got crushed. My heart still races at the thought of that. All safety protocol was being practiced. It was literally just a freak accident. Thankfully nobody got hurt, just shooken up a little bit. Walmart ex-employee here. Settle in, I have a few. He has a gun in a holster, Texas, so naturally he's hanging out in sporting goods. Goes to pull his wallet out as I'm finishing getting him his fishing license and I hear a couple really loud bangs directly in front of me. Dude accidentally blew his foot to shreds because he didn't have the safety on. Next up is when I was moving to AP, asset protection, where a fragile looking old lady is loading cart after cart off those super expensive Dyson vacuums. She just walked out the door with at least 5 of them. We didn't find out the whole weekend, but we found it on the screens in the back that the camera caught. So bizarre. Someone was fired for not spider wrapping them, I believe. I got a lot more, but I'll end with the time a small woman nearly paralyzed a dude with like a judo flip trip thing on Black Friday for getting the last Spider-Man PlayStation. He was alright, minor back injury and concussion, and got his PlayStation. I got robbed my second night working at a convenience store, so probably that. If not, it would be when all of us working close at BK got drunk on 40s and this dude fell through like 10 stacks of bread trays. I worked at a clothing store that didn't have a public restroom. The owners told us that under no circumstances were we to take them to the restroom that the employees use. IDKY, but they micromanaged and watched the cameras like crazy, so I wasn't about to break that rule. Well, one night a woman was pissed because we didn't have a public restroom, and so she walked to the big trash can we had by the back where we were doing some work and literally sat in it, peed, and walked out, in front of everyone, like it was nothing. After a year of working together, my nice and overly polite quiet co-worker went into his boss office and started huffing from an aerosol can. My co-worker found him on the floor and called an ambulance, but he refused to go. He later did it multiple more times during work hours before he got let go. Used to work in a bar and we were showing the quarterfinals of the World Cup in the summer of 2018, where it was England who beat Sweden 2-1. I believe England had just scored the winning goal, and in celebration, some crazy wasted football fan turned to his right and smashed a pint glass onto the head of an innocent old man. Must have been in his late 70s, early 80s. Luckily the old man was fine after a trip to the hospital, just shaken, and he even became a regular in the bar. To my knowledge he still comes in every now and again for a drink. I did counter work at my family's pizzeria for a while. One time a lady came in, obviously intoxicated, to pick up her pizza. We knew who she was. She was a lawyer and pretty wealthy, but went downhill and became an alcoholic. Anyways, she pays for her pizza and holds it like a shy kid in middle school would hold their books in the hallways, and walks face first into a pull door, making the entire explode upwards and downwards all over herself and the door. She gets up, grabs whatever remains she could, shoved it back into the box and walked out. I haven't seen her since. This woman came into the restaurant I work at and was injecting heroin in the bathroom for hours. This wasn't in a sketchy area. I don't think I've ever seen drugs like that in this area before, until we closed and she sprinted out, dropping a needle. She then came back the next day and started running around taking everything like straws and napkins and stuff like that. So it wasn't technically stealing and then left. Most WTF moment for sure. Caught an older male co-worker urinating all over a pallet of wood we had stored behind the lumber department. Well-known home improvement chain store. This happened while the store was open. He didn't think anyone was around and didn't want to bother walking 100 yards to the restroom. My co-workers actually doing their damn jobs. I work at a distribution warehouse where it get hot as hell during summer. The forklift operator at the front dock had multiple fans going, and one of the fans caught fire. I was mounted to the wall whilst others were on the floor. When he extinguished the fire, a fan on the floor sucked up the remaining powder and blew it everywhere on the shipping dock. He then turned to me and said, "Well, that sucks. Now I need to get a new fan." I got fired. Had a customer pepper spray another customer in a fairly small confined space. The entire bar had to be cleared out. I tried to help the guy who got pepper sprayed, but his response was to throw a cue ball at me. I worked with children and once I saw a child eating a sandwich with Nutella and cheese, cheddar. I wasn't there that day, but a guest found a bug in her salad. Not like a fly, though, a 2-inch long praying mantis. It's also important to note we are located in a region that is far too cold for praying mantises could ever live. An elderly woman with a little dog came in our supermarket, where dogs aren't allowed. We told her that animals were not allowed here and she got really mad. At first she said that she couldn't leave her dog in her car because it was too hot. So she was basically accusing us of animal cruelty for like 20 minutes straight. Then, she put our dog on the floor. She was holding it, and she ordered it to pee on our floor, and it really did. We had to kick her out and was the floor. When I worked at Chick-fil-A, a customer was pleased that his sandwich was spicy instead of regular. So he returned the half-eaten sandwich, cussed out the cashier, and then punched the glass door and shattered it. Not only that, but he came in the day after and said he had a bad day. Dogs fighting for no reason in front of my aunt's BBQ stand. Okay, so when I worked at Donato's Pizza, there was a woman that came in and asked for a small cup. Once she had the cup, she proceeded to take it into the bathroom. After she came out of the bathroom, she simply left. Later on, one of our delivery drivers goes in to clean the bathrooms and finds the woman's small cup sitting on the floor beside the toilet filled with poop. I work for a cleaning company in a high-rise building, and this just happened today. As I was starting my day, I saw a pair of socks near the elevator and didn't know whether to throw it away or just leave it right there. Who knows, someone might actually look for it, but who the hell would leave socks near a place that people go to often? Mind you, the socks didn't smell bad. LOL. Rat sleeping on my keyboard. Subscribe. Subscribe. Subscribe.